Today on the Best of Oklahoma Gardening, we are escaping winter with a return to last summer's tour of beautiful gardens across Oklahoma. We visit the winners of our 2014 Viewers Garden Contest with trips to the Eccles Home in Arcadia, the Arthur Home in Chickasha, and the Teal Home in Tulsa. We will also visit an Oklahoma City garden with an interesting solution to growing a lawn in the shade. Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance is provided by TLC, Oklahoma's leading garden center, Southwood Landscape and Nursery, Tulsa's source for great gardens, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing.
Our first ever garden contest was a great success. Thank you to all the gardeners who submitted their gardens. It was a delight for us to view the images and read the essays that were submitted and to see the immense creativity of gardeners across our great state. We know that Oklahoma can be a challenging place to garden, yet all of the submissions showed how gardeners can thrive despite the elements. Today we feature the top 3 winning gardens from the Home Garden Contest as decided based upon viewer votes. Enjoy your winning gardens. Our next stop is the home of Lisa Eccles in Arcadia. Lisa, I just love your color-themed gardens. Tell me a bit about these.
Well, thank you very much. This is my blue garden. I'm a pretty much of a cobalt buff. I love cobalt and the old glassware and things. And so I just decided to make this the blue garden, and I like to recycle things and spray in blue and to see if I can grow things in there.
I love the blue glass bottles and the way you've displayed those in a container. That's lovely.
I got that idea from one of the local gardens here in town, and then the bottles are like what my folks do in Germany. They always turn bottles up in the yard.
And put those out throughout the garden. Oh,
mushrooms.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I like the bowling ball too. We're big fans of using whatever you can find in the garden, and that certainly won't get broken the way the gazing balls do.
They split if you don't take them in for the winter, but they're pretty hardy.
And you've matched the blue with some purple and pink, which really just brightens up this little area of the landscape.
This wisteria, when it's in bloom, is Japanese wisteria, and it's just the most beautiful, vibrant pink that sets the blue off.
And you have other areas in the landscape with different colors as well, right?
Yes, I do. I have a new chartreuse garden behind. I'm still collecting things of chartreuse colors to spice it up. And then I also have a red garden in the back, and that's a nice pop of color all seasons of the year.
And then up front there's a yellow, and as a beautiful shade garden, it really shows what you can do even in a shady spot. Let's go take a look at that. Well, we're in your yellow and orange garden, and tell me a bit about the inspiration for this.
Well, the inspiration was really my friend Cynthia, who's also one of my good friends and bunco gal. She was a big OSU fan, and she started me on like Cleopatra and different kinds of cannas, and there's lots of native and hardy perennials that grow in Oklahoma that are yellow and orange.
Very nice. And I know in here you have a lot of hostas on the back side and the elephant ears to give a lot of color and just a little bit of pop in the shade. But I like how you pulled that yellow into the foliage as well here with the cannas, and of course all of your ornamentation that you add on.
Thank you.
Very playful. So this area used to be all garden, right? And
Just got to be a little too much for me with knee problems, and so
I think it's beautiful the way you've created the very organic bed lines. Let the trees continue to do what they're doing. Now down at the far end, you told me you had a problem with a runaway plant, and tell me about that. I think that's great.
Well, at the beginning, you can imagine I was trying to find plants to fill in this whole area, and it's also used the shade and the sun. And one of the gardeners sold me on this chameleon plant, and it goes everywhere.
Right. We battled this plant. I know it well. But now you have the turf in, so
yes, it's a lot easier for me. My husband mows it.
and you could use that as a barrier, so it keeps the chameleon plant down at one end of the garden and protects the rest of it.
Right. It does stay pretty contained in that area also. So,
well, this is just a beautiful shady nook, but you have one more very special area.
yes,
Your secret
my
garden.
secret garden. Yeah.
So Lisa, this is your secret garden.
Yes.
And I always love vegetable gardens like this that are equal parts flowers and vegetables. And you told me earlier this is kind of inspired by your exchange family in Germany, right?
Yes, my mom and pop been trip. I've been going over there for years, and they always had these beautiful but functional gardens. And so when I had a place where I could put up a garden, I tried to make it like a European garden.
Very nice. And it's also very productive, like you said. You've harvested many tomatoes, put those up in cans.
Oh yes. Every jar I have, I filled this year. The tomatoes were really good this year.
And there's some fun seeds. You always try some different seeds. The zinnias with those round heads, I just adore those. I'm gonna have to try them next year.
Yeah, I got those from Burpee, and they're a lot of fun to grow.
And you have family that visits here, right? Your
Yes,
grandkids?
I'm originally from Kansas, and my mom comes down, and we have neighbors stop by and stuff, and then I have grandchildren in Choctaw. So,
And I just love one of those great homemade touches you have at the entrance to the garden here. Tell me about Granny's mailbox.
oh, Granny's mailbox. It's where it's a concept we read about, and we decided we'd start doing it with our granddaughter so that she would want to come over and she would get little gifts in there when the mailbox was up.
So if the flag's up, the
She
fairy
knows
has
that
been
garden
here.
fairy has come, Granny. And sometimes I leave little bits of like glitter and stuff because she's seen a picture of the garden fairy that we superimposed on from the internet. So, yeah, she
That's a
loves
lot of
that.
fun.
She loves it.
There's one other homemade touch that I definitely wanted to share before we leave, and that is your rock structures. Let's go look at that.
Okay.
Each of your color-themed gardens has a color-coordinated post, and you've made these yourself. Tell us about these.
Yes, we had leftovers from the Winfield limestone that we built our house with, and it's of course from Kansas. And I started with 4x4s, and then I covered them with chicken wire, and then all kinds of grout and cement, and I call them my Kansas wacky posts.
Well, they are just a delightful addition. I love them. You have such a fun garden, and I could see your imagination at play here. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Thank you, Kim.
The next stop on our contest tour is the home of Patricia Arthur in Chickasha. Patricia, welcome to Oklahoma Gardening.
Thank you. Welcome to my yard.
It is so incredibly inviting. I mean, I pulled up and I thought, wow, what a beautiful entrance. And as we come inside, everything is so beautifully detailed and inviting. I love it.
Thank you. Well, it's, you didn't see all the weeds I didn't get pulled when you came in the front door. Okay, good. Well, and this little courtyard didn't exist a few years ago. And, you know, I've often thought, I'd had more money, I could have done this and this, but I have found that being forced to go slowly and take my time, and the ideas, the things I gather, that I put in, are far better. And so when I put up a fence, closed this in, and put down bricks, decided to put this here, move things around a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But, and different things people give me. One of my former students called me the other day and she goes, I have this old school desk. And of course, because I was a teacher, that makes it more special. But she said, well, I thought, I've been seeing the pictures you post about your garden and I thought you might want to use this. So that is special. And just lots of, the old egg basket here was given to me years ago. So.
You call this your heritage garden. As we walk through, we can see all those little parts and pieces of things that people gave to add a special touch. Your water garden, when I first came in, I missed this. That's how rich this landscape is. Just everywhere I look, there's something new. But even that, there's a little story. Tell me about the glass balls. I thought that was really fun.
Okay, well, and you know, with a smaller garden, you have to tuck little things in where you can, but those are hand-blown little glass balls. A friend of mine taught in Alaska, and so one summer I got this package in the mail, and these are little balls that they attach to the edges of the nets that they throw. It gives it weight to throw out the nets.
Right.
And of course all the fishing they do in Alaska. So sometimes I put them in a jar in the house, and during the summer I have them out floating in the pond. So
It's
you know,
nice that your friends are thinking of you and how you might use these things.
Well, when you're as old as I am, you have a lot of friends.
One of the things as gardeners, plants are certainly a big part of that heritage, and we love to share plants and pass them along and pass memories along with them.
Yes.
And this is one of those plants, right?
Yes. My mother-in-law wasn't particularly a gardener, but by the garage there were always the 4 o'clocks, and of course they came back year after year, and all they did was mow around them. And so several years ago I asked her if she would save some seeds for me, and she did, and she's been gone about 15 years. But the 4 o'clocks come up year after year, have some out front, and make me think of her. And then I hope to pass those seeds on to her grandchildren and great-grandchildren.
Isn't that wonderful that you can continue,
Yes.
share these memories of a living thing from one person to the next?
Yes.
You have a lot of antiques in the yard, and of course some of those have great stories, and this one I think has a fabulous story. Tell me about the gas pump.
Well, my husband and I had 4 children. I was pregnant with my youngest child, Jared, and we had planned to go to this auction that had lots of antiques and everything. Well, Jared decided to be born that Saturday morning, so my husband trucked off with the stock trailer and came back with this. And you know, they're difficult to find and had the glass intact, and I have it wired for a light and just casts a nice glow on the backyard. So that we call that Jared's gas pump.
And just as I look throughout the landscape, you have such a beautiful use of antiques, the chairs, some decorations on your fence. It just adds so much character to the garden.
Well, and you know, so many of those things are things that people have laying around that they just want to get rid of. The old chairs are just heavy. I got those for $5 a piece from a guy. And I've even stopped sometimes in people's yards. They'll have different things out, or an old rusty chair, and I go, would you want to get rid of that? I've even had people just say, oh, take it, to get it out of my way. So,
well, you talked about building piece by piece. Let's take a look over here
Okay, go
at
ahead.
your pathway. Well, Patricia, this is a labor of love, and you've built this over many years. Laid the pathways by yourself, and I love how you've incorporated bricks from, you know, special places. As you walk through, you can read.
Well, and they, like I said, most of these I've just collected over the years, and somebody would have a few to get rid of, and it's so neat. The bricks where, I guess, where they're made, Ada. I think they still have a brick factory there, I'm not sure. I have one over here that's Chandler OT, which stands for Oklahoma Territory. So back before Oklahoma was even a state.
So every little piece just has its own stories. Now for young gardeners, you know, as you built this up, it's taken some time, but a great way to start are just containers, and you have some amazing containers throughout here. Your trough filled with the beautiful fall color, but what I really love is the way you've elevated these and gotten the plants up closer to the viewer.
Well, and these are all house plants, and so they, with all the shade I have back here, it's been great to get them out of the house, and just a bunch of containers. In fact, that one's just an old trash can that weighs a ton, and you know, prop them up and let them have some natural sunlight.
And they add a lot of color to the landscape as well. Sometimes it's hard to get color into the shade, but you get those variegated colors from a lot of your house plants, and it just adds so much.
I've never lived at a house where I had so much shade, and so you have to totally kind of adjust your thinking. But that's part of the fun, is the challenge, and to get to experiment with different plants, and that's what I want to tell young gardeners. It's like, well, you see this, and I've tried to get it spruced up. It doesn't always look this way, and it didn't always look this way. Like I said, when I first moved here, the weeds were taller than I was in the backyard, and maybe if you're inexperienced and you don't know where to start, like you said, start with the containers, and you know, with all the information we have available on the internet.
Yeah, and we have the gardening fact sheets that have a lot of information through Cooperative Extension. So you're right, that's a great message, that there's so many resources and you could just start small.
Well, and I've really appreciated those pamphlets on the Oklahoma proven plants and trees. I needed a couple of trees out on the front. The west sun is so intense, and I had never heard of Chinese pistache until I looked in one of those brochures and saw that they were good for the heat, the drought, tolerant, and all that. So I planted those a few years ago and never would have known about them had I not looked in those pamphlets.
Well, I'm glad that the resources have been useful. Thank you so much for sharing your beautiful landscape with us, and congratulations on being a contestant.
Thank you. I felt very privileged to do that. Thank you.
The first place winner of our home garden contest is Beth Teal, and what a delightful entryway through the arbor.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Now, your landscape here has quite a bit of shade, and for some gardeners, that's a huge challenge, but you've tackled that just beautifully. What's your approach to shade gardening?
Well, I find something that I think will make it in the shade. Now, it does get a little bit of afternoon sun, but not much. It gets just enough to make it. The colors change as the seasons change, but by and large, these stay this color all year round.
And so you've used a lot of evergreen material to add color.
Right.
So diverse, you know, the blues, the goldens, and the different greens.
That's a big thing with me. I love the contrast of colors and also the textures of plants. I really strive to find something that's totally different. Each one plays off each other, and like this beautiful gold thread mop, and I always remind people that if you look at this, it has a long strand, just like a gold thread, and this just looks so pretty year round. I love it with the dark.
Yeah, absolutely, beautiful contrast. And as we walk along the edge, actually throughout the whole landscape, you can see that repetition of the golds throughout.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've done a beautiful job managing the shade, and I could tell you have a love for variety. There's so many different plants represented.
There are
in
a lot of
here.
There's a lot of different plants here, and you know, sometimes I plant too close together, but I like the fullness look. you know, sometimes they edge into each other's territory, but so far so good. I still like the full look.
And I could see you've adapted to that by pruning things up, lifting the trees up above the shrub canopy.
I need to raise some up as we speak. This is getting a little low, but it also provides shade for those plants that need a little bit more shade.
Absolutely. So at the far end of the garden here, you have a very unique feature, and that's the gutter garden. Tell me a bit about that gutter.
The gutter garden. Everybody loves the gutter garden. I change it seasonally. It had different plants in it this summer. This year I planted a lot of plants that I thought were very hardy with the heat, because our summers are just so terrible. The moneywort just grows and grows and grows. It almost looks like a waterfall.
Yes.
And I've used other plants up there. I just switched to the pansies. They will bloom all winter long, actually.
And you have that on a little drip system.
Yes, yes. My husband put it on a drip irrigation system because it requires a lot of water. But I use really good soil. There are holes where underneath every 8 inches there's a hole, and it drains, and it's just fun. Every year I try to do something different.
And it does look like a little waterfall. It adds a lot of interest
It
back
does,
here.
and you'll be surprised some things come up there from the birds that I have not planted. Yeah.
Beth, I love the way that you've used boxwood to make a border along this edge of the garden. Tell me about that.
Thank you. I saw this one time in a yard, and I thought I could do that with my boxwood. You prune them or clip them at an angle, and then you top them off flat on top, and this way they grow so much better than just letting them grow naturally.
And also, a lot of times you see people prune this way, which shades out the bottom of the plant. This is actually a beautiful example of the proper method of pruning.
Well, I have noticed I don't have any spots that are open, and I think it's because of the way that we prune them this way.
It's a lovely formal complement to the shade and some sun-loving plants behind it. Very beautiful.
Thank you.
So one of your passions is topiary.
Yes, I love topiaries.
And you have some beautiful, remind me again what this one is.
This is Eugenia.
Okay.
And it's a tropical, and I bring them in. These are probably about 7 or 8 years.
And you really enjoy using coleus throughout the landscape.
I do.
You've started making coleus topiary.
Yes, I found a really strong stem, put in a chopstick, and kind of stationary using a string, and so far so good. It's really growing.
So you'll bring these over the winter and continue to trim them?
I will bring these in over the winter. I just started this one, and it's not doing exactly like I wanted to. It's not
twist.
Straight, yeah, but it will be. I'll fix it.
Yeah, keep working that. Well, you just have the most rich landscape. I'm really enjoying it. And I love how you've brought your decoration out and placed it throughout the garden. It's just a very welcoming sight.
Thank you. I like to bring the outdoors, or the indoors outdoors, and it kind of makes it more homey out here.
Thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for coming.
We're visiting the home of Earl and Jean Ferguson in Oklahoma City. Now, Earl, beneath this beautiful oak canopy, you have a rather unusual lawn. Tell me about this.
Well, this is my monkey grass lawn. I got the idea from Southern Living, and I put it in about 30 years ago. And all of my flower beds were lined with monkey grass, and I'd dig a clump and wash the roots clean and take 2 or 3 sprigs, put in a clump, and I'd work about a square yard at a time, and eventually just got it all plugged in.
I imagine it's pretty low maintenance now, huh?
Mowed only 3 times a year.
Excellent.
Once after the lush spring growth, and then once after the bloom stalks are dead, get them off, and then get it ready for raking leaves.
In the fall.
Yeah.
And with this heavy shade here, what a great solution.
Yes.
It takes anything Mother Nature can throw at it.
That's right. That's right.
And you have another patch in the back that's even shadier,
Yes.
so it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm real sold on monkey grass.
Well, you have 2 of my favorite plants in your landscaping. the Mahonia, and then your Aucuba, and your Aucuba has an interesting story.
Oh, yes. My cousin brought us a vase of Aucubas, and we set it on the dining room table. And it kept beautiful we thought, it would wilt, but it never did. And we got to looking at it closer, and it rooted. So that started our Aucuba collection.
And you've just rooted more and more cuttings?
Rooted all of our own, yeah.
And it's spread all throughout the landscape. It makes a beautiful hedge.
Yeah, it really does.
You have a really special mock orange in the back that's just beautiful right now.
Yeah.
How old is that tree?
That's probably 50 years old.
Wonderful.
And I planted that out of a 1-gallon can.
Well, it's just beautiful.
It is.
I was looking at your vegetable garden, and you have containers planted around your tomatoes. Tell me about that.
Well, it's just containers that I've received in buying plants, and I cut the bottom out, so it's just a round tube. And when I plant the tomatoes, I slip one of those over to protect from cutworms and wind while they're so small and the like. And it works pretty good.
And then as they grow, you'll pull the container out?
No, usually just leave it.
Just leave it all
Yeah,
summer?
yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Mr. Ferguson, thank you so much for having us out to visit your garden.
Well, you're just more than welcome. It's been my pleasure. It's nice. Thank you.
Next week, we're getting a little nutty with a show about pecans. We travel to the Cimarron Valley Research Station to learn about pecan harvesting and storage. Dick Hoffman teaches us how to perform a bark graft on pecans. Extension entomology specialist Jackie Lee has an easy and effective way to manage pecan weevils. And we return to the Hoffman Pecan Farm to see the process of pecan processing. Join us then for more TV you'll grow to love. For additional information, show notes, plant lists, recipes, and fact sheets, visit our website or contact your local Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service office. Segments from this episode, along with hundreds more from previous episodes, are available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Oklahoma Gardening. Be sure to join our Facebook group for information on upcoming episodes and gardening events, photos, and discussions of gardening topics. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens. This outdoor television studio is made possible with the help of our generous underwriters, TLC Garden Centers, Southwood Landscape and Nursery, and the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is provided by Pond Pro Shops, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, and the Oklahoma Horticultural Society.